Hey guys, this is Elizabeth Austin. I'm here with Nicole Espinosa, and we are so excited to bring our first show on Propelio to you today. Today we're going to be talking about logic over emotion and how to get out of your own way as a business owner so that you can really grow and scale. So stay with us. We've got some exciting stuff for you.
Propelio TV is sponsored by Noble Mortgage and Investments, Batch Skip Tracing, Think Multifamily, CreativeCashflow.com, and Lifeonaire.
Awesome. Hey, Nicole.
Hey, Elizabeth. Hey, guys.
Okay, so we are here. We're super excited because y'all have probably seen us once or twice or three times on the show before, but you also may not be very familiar with who we are.
And what we do and all that fun stuff.
We are bringing our show here to Propelio because they are one of the best platforms, and we want to be able to provide so much value to you guys. So we're going to tell you just a quick little bit about us so you know who we are when we're talking about what we're going to talk about, and then we'll get right into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey guys, thanks for joining us. I am Nicole Espinosa, owner and founder of the Short Sale Queen. You've seen me on here before. I specialize in short sales. I have a team of agents. So a lot of what we talk about is growing as entrepreneurs with our teams, our struggles, and things like that. So I'm really excited to be here.
So you also have a residential team to go with your short sale business, which is the main part of your business, right?
Yeah.
Just real quick, tell everyone the team's name because I freaking love it.
Oh, I haven't announced it yet. So am I announcing it here?
Just kidding. That'll stay tuned for later.
Stay tuned for that.
Spoilers. Okay, so I'm Elizabeth Austin. I'm a licensed real estate agent. I actually recently just stepped down from running one of the largest real estate teams here in Dallas. Still on that team producing, and so I work with a ton of buyer-seller clients. I work with a ton of investors as well. A part of that team, they've got this huge development and investment network, so I've been surrounded by that for 4 years, growing that real estate team, and then now focusing on growing my own personal brand and production through real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dive right in.
Yeah.
Today, a lot of the topics that we've done when we've done our podcast have just been things that we're going through.
Yes.
I mean, I feel like that is the best way to do it, right? Things that you have personal experience with.
Well, and we always want it to be, we hate these buzzwords, but we always want it to be authentic, transparent, honest, raw, real. And those are such cliche buzzwords right now, but it's really something that we strive for because in this business, whether it's traditional investment, whatever, there's so much bullshit.
Can you say that? Can we say that?
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Okay. we're drinking wine, so I think we can cuss.
But there is. I mean, and I feel like, you know, we struggle, we go through it, right? Especially when you're running a team or when you're trying to scale with your business. And we talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
And so today we're talking about getting out of your own way because the conversation that we have all the time when we're hiring, when we're trying to grow is a lot of times as entrepreneurs, and like for me personally, like I've grown drastically in the last year, and to go from managing 30 listings a month to 80 to 90 has been a complete game changer.
Absolutely.
Because now I'm having to step out of things as a salesperson would normally do because I have to protect my time. And I think a lot of times when people get into this business, you know, we still have our salesperson hat on, and we need to realize that if we're going to grow our business, we have to put our CEO hat on. We have to put our business hat on.
Absolutely.
And a lot of that is getting over ourselves because you know, that's hard for me because I'm like, no, I need to do this. And you're like this control freak.
We're both really type A, right?
Yes.
Really type A. Sure. I totally think there's other ways I can do it. I just know, I think the biggest thing we all struggle with is not only can I do it better is probably a mindset, but I can do it quicker. It's quicker for me to go ahead and do it than it actually is.
And not valuing training, right? Because of what you just said.
Because it's a pain in the ass when you're the salesperson to train someone. Let's be real. It's awful.
Well, I think hiring, like everyone's first hire would be what? An assistant? Especially if you're an investor or if you are in real estate, you need an assistant to do like the time-consuming things, like the data entry or prospecting or whatever. And a lot of times it's frustrating because I'm like, hiring is exhausting.
Right.
Like it's freaking exhausting. You have to find someone. I mean, I just hired another admin for the office and half of the interviews freaking didn't show up. Let's talk about that. It's definitely not what it used to be. And then the other half like can't carry a conversation. And then when they finally show up, it's like, do you have common sense? Like, can I hold a conversation with you?
I don't know that anyone's ever nailed hiring because how many people know, especially in a sales job, how to sell someone on everything that they want?
Well, it depends what you're hiring for, of course.
Most likely, but still, I still typically know how to show up as my best self, or I know what they're looking for, what they want, and I know how to appeal to that.
Yeah.
And then when you get on board and I'm paying you money and I'm still trying to go through at least training you to give you a fair chance, and you're wasting my time and money, like that can be really frustrating, and that can absolutely be one of those experiences where you start to let the emotions override you, because now you're sitting here thinking, well, it failed once. How much time and money did I waste on this person? How much more could I have done myself by trying to grow this? So I think we wanted to bring this to you because we know, oh, hey, Elizabeth. Oh, hey, Tavis. Cheryl, my mom.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us.
But we know whether you're an investor, whether you're a wholesaler, whether you are just a residential realtor with your own business as a single agent, whether you're growing a team, running a team, managing a team, like there's so many different things that you have to get out of your own way for. And so I think we wanted to talk about what we've learned so that we have been able to scale to the size that we've gotten to, as well as what we learned to recognize to actually also give some tactical steps so that you guys can actually take away and start implementing in this business. Because I think that's something else we've learned with podcasts or masterminds or panels that we're all on is like, if I'm not getting anything tactical and I truly can't implement it, it's all just words that we're saying, then
it's like you're saying a bunch of words but you're not really saying anything.
Then I'm not getting any strategy, and I need to be able to take this and implement something tonight or tomorrow in order to make a change in my business. So
absolutely. Well, I think the first thing is, you know, for me, I've been doing this for 9 years and I've always run it the same way. So we put the system into place, we had the admins, and a lot of it was not hiring intentionally. And so I really want to talk about that.
Like hiring to fill a seat or because you felt pain.
Or you just like wanted a body there. Like I just need a physical person. So I don't even care. Out of desperation. And I took away something from one of the conferences we went through. I can't even tell you which one it was. But they said that try telling someone that's drowning that not to just hire out of desperation.
Right.
And it's so true, because if you are prospecting and you're wearing all the hats because you're just starting out in your business and you know, just need some help, you just need a physical body there, that can be the worst for your business. You end up spending so much more money because you end up, you know, they end up making expensive mistakes. You're still having to come up behind them. So you're paying them. You're having to come up behind them to manage them. And I'm not a micromanager.
No, I can't do it at all.
I can't. It's
I don't
not
like to be micromanaged, so I
space.
cannot do it as a leader.
Absolutely. And so I was, not purposely, but I was hiring people where it was like, hey, did you do this? And I wasn't empowering them. I wasn't empowering them to be able to do their job. And they would always be like, okay, well, I'm waiting for the next task. And so it was changing my mindset to say, okay, if I'm going to hire this person, I've got to let them take control and I've got to give them room to fail.
So
because it took me a long time to learn my skill.
Absolutely.
My skill
I totally
set.
failed forward.
Yeah, and I have to give them the opportunity to, and even though this is my baby and my business, I have to give them room to fail and not freak out and try to take it back.
I think that's the first thing. So first of all, that's being self-aware of yourself, of
understanding
how you are going to respond to this, and knowing that before then you even put that person in a position to be on your team, in your network, whatever that looks like, whatever you're hiring for. Because if you're not ultimately, and you've got to know yourself well enough to know, am I feeding myself a lie right now, or is this true? Because we all feed ourselves lies.
One thing to lie to other people, it's the other to lie to yourself.
Yeah, you have to have some real truth with yourself and who you are. And
you become a better leader that way. I mean, think about just how much we've grown. I don't always want
to hear it, but it's true.
Yeah, I mean, and it was just a matter of, okay, let's be real with ourselves, like cut the bullshit. What am I need to do to grow as a person and as a leader? And it's insane once we started doing that and implementing that, how much we've been able to take a step back and work on my business instead of in my business, and realize like I need to be a better leader, which means I need to learn to let go.
Which is the ever evolving thing. But I mean, speaking of that, like if you let someone into your world and you put them in this position to be an admin for you, manage your business, be an agent on your team, whatever that looks like, if you're not willing to trust financially let them fail forward and fully empower them, like if that's not something you can do, then they're never going to be put in a position to lead, but you're also never going to get the leverage from them that you want. So you have to go in knowing, am I also in a financial position where if this person makes a decision and we completely eat shit because of that,
I love the way you said that.
Is that going to drown our business? Because
Right.
if so, then you may not really be in the position where you need to hire someone yet.
Yeah, sure.
You need to get into the
I
position.
guess you start there, right? Am I in the position to hire someone where I can actually
But I
take
don't
the
think
time
it's
to
always
train?
determined financially, like a lot of people do. Because I
Right.
think it's also important for us to remember when we're hiring someone, there's so many different ways, first of all, in our business that you can hire them. It could be commission-based. It could be bonus-based,
Hourly.
a small flat. It could be salaried. It could be hourly. So
Yeah.
if it's something that's more of a commitment, like hourly or salary, you're not hiring them for that $30,000 or $50,000 a year salary. You're hiring them for a 90-day trial. So maybe that's $6,000 ultimately to you. And that's how we need to reframe that too.
Right.
And you do need
Absolutely.
to be prepared to fire fast. But if you're going to fire, have you truly given every opportunity for them to succeed?
Have you given them the opportunity to be able to do that?
Yes. And being, once again, self-aware if you haven't, and if you're at all hindering their growth is going to be really, really crucial. Otherwise, you're going to repeat the same cycle regardless of who's in that role.
Right.
So
I think also the other thing is getting clarity on your goals, right? So a lot of us, we have this, there's like a cliche, like what you were saying earlier about all these words that get used all the time about, set goals. Okay, and what?
what's your big why?
What's your big why? Which,
hate that.
but I mean, definitely we want to
Need
advocate for what your why is because that's your motivation, but it has to go deeper than that because especially when you're running a business, you have to break it down. Because I talk to so many people on a daily basis that they're like, well, my goal is to do, 100 flips this year or 100 transactions or whatever. I'm like, okay, great. So how are you going to get there? I don't know. But I am looking at it and I wrote it down.
And how many did you do last year? One? Cool.
Yes. So I did my first one last year and this year I'm going to do 100 and I'm like, okay. And it's so much deeper. Just get out. But it goes so much deeper than that. I mean, it's really diving in on clarity of like, okay, what does that look like? What does my life look like? What does my vision of like the employees
because then
that are
who
going
do
to
I
work
need to
for
be
me?
every single day? Am I acting
Right.
like the person I want to be?
Right.
I
Which
took that
each
away from our
level-
mastermind last week with Ryan Stuman. We had a mastermind for 2 days with these. It was any entrepreneur really. It was a ton of real estate people. I would say
sales, just sales in
a
general.
ton of sales,
Yeah.
and it was awesome. Like high level people in this room,
Millionaires, like
Billy
literally,
Jean,
in the
who I actually didn't know about before that. Clever investor dude.
Yes, clever investor was there. I met him, and that was
I can't remember his name.
Totally fangirled. I was like,
yeah.
Hi, thank you for coming.
Yeah.
My name's Nicole.
High level people in this room,
Yeah.
and Ryan actually was the one to say this. And I'm sure locally a lot of you guys know him, but he started talking about 11 years ago, I think it was, he started creating his perfect day. And then that guided him to start showing up for...
He wrote it down, and every day he looked at it.
Yes. Every single day he looked at it.
In the afternoon.
Yeah.
And at the evening.
At least twice a day.
This is what he wanted.
And then did I
in his
show up as
business.
this person every day? And if not, what do I need to do tomorrow? That was a level of honesty with himself, a level of awareness that he had to determine if he was actually showing up as who he wanted to be and create the business he wanted to be. And I think today he probably would say he did. And in fact, because of that, he was able to say a lot of those things he created on that piece of paper have happened. And actually, I think he crossed off the last one last week with
the event.
Amy. Yeah, with the event and stuff. And so that is so crucial to know what you're working towards. Like, think with the end in mind.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, that's so important. So it's having clarity on your goal and understanding, okay, this is the person I need to become, and these are the actions I need to take, because it's not enough to be motivated. We talk about that all the time. Like, it's not enough to, get excited and post something motivational. It's am I doing that are taking actions towards that?
Yeah.
And like you said, showing up as that person, which a lot of it was, okay, if I'm gonna lead this, if I'm gonna scale my business, what kind of leader do I need to be if I'm gonna have employees? Because it's different when you're an entrepreneur and you're good at sales, right? So how many people kill it in sales as an investor or a realtor, and then they have such a shit show team, and they can't keep an employee to save their life, and they can't, because it's different when you're actually leading, because now you're responsible. I mean, oh my God, I remember when I hired my first employee, and that shit gave me so much anxiety because I'm like, okay, I've got to pay you, and it was insignificant, like $750 every 2 weeks. But I just remember thinking, every 2 weeks I have to give you $750, so I have to make sure I have it, because at the time I was in survival of just trying to pay my bills.
There is
and
something
my
to be
overhead
said for having that employee though, where you're like, oh shit, I'm now responsible for feeding you.
I'm feeding myself and you now.
Yeah.
Like, completely different ballgame, for sure.
That is a whole nother mindset you take on when it's the pressure of like, whoo, I now have to show up. Yeah. Because I can be really easy on myself and I can let myself off the hook. But now if I don't show up and then I don't have business to provide for you and you don't eat,
it's a whole other level of accountability.
Ball game.
For sure.
Absolutely.
And of course, as my business scaled, so did my overhead. And so did the amount of people that I needed. And it was like, okay, you know, you face the fear and you do it anyway. And that's literally been my entire business. And it's been terrifying.
Let's go a little bit more, a little mindset real quick while we're still kind of talking about this at this point, and talk about, we label this show a little bit, you know, logic over emotion. And because as the business owner, as the leader, even if you're not the owner, as the leader, if you're managing other people, running them, inspiring them, motivating them, you can't have emotional reactions a lot of the time, I don't think, to the situations, the events, the words that are said.
Which is really hard to do, because
it's extremely hard to do.
It's hard to not take things personal if it's your business and your blood, sweat, and tears.
You know, some of the things that I was thinking of when we were kind of prepping for this was, we already mentioned being self-aware, but also bringing up, I think, getting outside of yourself so that you can realize you're in a moment where I'm having an emotional reaction to something. Yeah. Is my emotional reaction like justified's not the right word, but why am I having this reaction to the way this person has approached me, the way that they have responded to me? Yeah.
And that can be your clients too. I mean,
it could absolutely be your clients.
They're not able to build rapport because they can't get past the way they're talking to someone. I mean, I tell like people that I work with all the time, I'm like, you cannot talk to, and this is sales, right? I can't talk to you the way you want to be talked to. I mean, the way I want to be talked to, I have to talk to you the way you want to be talked to. So it's the way that you are receiving things, not me. So if I'm talking to you the way that I interpret things, I mean, you're going to react a totally different way.
Right.
If you're a very logic, you know, numbers person, I'm not going to sit here and be emotional.
But
I need to understand that.
You need to understand that and be able to step outside yourself and your emotions in that moment to say, okay, so everyone sees life through their own lens. Everyone's got their own perception, their own experiences that are determining how they're interpreting what's being said or done to them in this moment.
Right.
How do you step outside of that to make sure then, because I think most people lack this. I think this is the number one thing that's lacked by entrepreneurs, by business owners, by people in general. I don't give a shit if you're like run a business, if you're an employee. I just love to cuss, apparently. So we're just going to keep that up. But like, I think
Brian said we could.
I think it's the number one thing that's lacked by people in this world is self-awareness. And I think it's one of the things that takes people so far. Yeah. So how do you step outside of yourself to realize what needs to happen with your own actions, what needs to happen within your organization in order to actually make change for, maybe that's bringing people on, maybe that's getting rid of people you currently have, maybe that's changing your model, or changing the clientele that you work with. Like, you know, I think
it's making you miserable. I mean, think about it. Like, this is what we do, right? We have to be passionate about it. We have to love what we do if we're ever going to be successful, because it's hard. It's consistency. It's waking up every single freaking day doing the same thing, which is boring sometimes. I mean, you have to cold call every single day. You have to prospect every single day, even when you feel like it, when you don't feel like it. And so if you don't love what you do, if you're not so passionate about it, then do something else. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to put blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, money is great and it's going to come, but it's not what's going to wake you up in the morning. I mean, maybe if you're starving, that will be a motivating factor.
Maybe.
But you know,
I've seen it not be a motivating factor, unfortunately, though.
You would think, right?
Yeah.
That would help. You need to pay your bills. But, you know, and I think that's really important, is that you are focused on that, you know, with what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is. And I know our friend Satima, we got to hear from him last week, and he runs an incredible business, and he talked about a few of he's got 6 C's that he recommends that people really focus on. And 2 of them are what we just said. It's clarity on what you want. It's keeping that end in mind, where you're going to go. And then it's consistency. You know what I loved, and this kind of feeds into hiring. I think we should talk more about that, because that's going to be a huge thing with scaling your businesses. Hiring, recruiting, what does that look like? How do you do it? But he talked about capacity. And that one I thought was super powerful, of being self-aware again and realistic of how much can I truly handle.
Right.
Also, what should I handle? What are my strengths and my weaknesses, and what should I hire to? Because sometimes you could be someone who's extremely efficient with their time. Sometimes it could be you need to relook at your day and see how you're managing your time in order to actually grow your business. That could be a huge factor for you. But capacity, what is your capacity to make the change or grow the business you want to see? And if your ceiling's here and everyone's got a ceiling, then what do you need to add in so that you can now take your organization here? And I thought that was super key. So we'll come back with some more tactical steps here in a second and continue talking about this. But we're going to take a short break.
Awesome.
The Propelio Academy, an all-in-one education resource for training in wholesales, subject to wraps, short sales, flips, rentals, BRRRR, property management, and more. Go to propelio.com/academy to get your scholarship today. Propelio.com. What does Propelio offer? Lead generating websites, access to true MLS comps, off-market lead lists, and deal alerts. Get them all today at Propelio.com.
Hey guys, welcome back. So we are talking about getting out of your own way. Nicole, Espinosa, and Elizabeth Austin. So we left off on accountability and really talking about with employees and scaling your business, but we want to dive into hiring because I think this is the hardest thing to do when
it's also
you are starting
the number one way for growth.
Yeah, I know, but it's hard. Like like we said earlier, it's exhausting. And I would rather, and I hate to admit this, but we said that we're going to be honest. Like I would rather do it myself. Like I would rather do it myself than worry about another person that I have to. It's so much energy.
Here's the thing: I don't actually want to do it myself.
Well, I mean, no one wants to, but I'm like, I want to handle.
But in theory, it's extremely hard. And then like the training of someone, the onboarding of someone, especially in this business where things move really quickly. So by the time you've created some sort of training manual, 30, 60, 90, whatever that looks like, you're like, well, shit, everything's changed. And now I've got to recreate
It sounded really good 3 years ago, but now shit.
Yeah.
We're running our business a completely different way now, and I have to redo it. And,
so let's talk about you and your business. What was your first hire?
So my first was admin. And so with streamlining our process, I've always had a VA that would make calls, a virtual assistant, which is great. I mean, if you guys don't have a VA, get one. There's different companies. My Outdesk, there's one in Miami. I can't remember what it's called, but there's a ton of
someone here
companies.
locally who's starting something, which I'll keep you guys updated on when it's ready to be announced. It's not me, but
see, this is always spoiler alert. Like, stop doing that. Like, I've got this great thing, but I can't tell you about it. Like,
I don't know who wants me to share their secrets or not. People just feel like they can tell me things.
Yeah, not anymore. So anyways, so see, we have ADD. You cannot do this.
I know.
So anyways, but virtual assistants, virtual assistant, fantastic, especially
pretty inexpensive too. Not always the thing you should look at, but
no, but that's what
really
I was going with
obtainable
it,
for a lot of
is
people.
that if it's your first hire and like say you're starting out, right? So you're an investor, you're prospecting, you're just trying to get deals done, or you're a realtor, like you need to be able to market, right? But you don't have time to do the stupid stuff. And so for that, especially with social media, posting, website, all that stuff, you know, it's great. And for me specifically with my business, it was making the calls. Like I need to stay on the phone for 45 minutes because I don't have that time.
What kind of calls were you making? To the banks for you?
To the banks. So for the short sales, it was staying on the phone for 45 minutes just to say, hey, did you get our fax?
Because what's interesting is for, at least where I started, and even when I was running the team, calls were the last thing I would have handed off, you know, for me in my world. So I think
different though.
It is.
Yours
well,
is
that's why I think it's really important to know and realize the
difference.
business that you're in.
Yeah.
The absolute most dollar productive thing you do should obviously not be the thing you hand off first. So for me, being a traditional agent or running a team, leveraging my prospecting calls was not something I would hand off. And still to this day, eventually as I hire someone to do it, it'll be, for the time being, it'll be in conjunction with me.
But you like the hunt and kill.
I do love a hunt and kill.
So that's really the hardest.
But it is one of the most important things I do to my conversion and my
But it's your
success.
prospecting. So that's how you're generating business.
Yeah.
And I'm a strong believer that if you're not focusing on income producing activities, what are you doing?
Right.
Like you as the entrepreneur, you running your business, you are the rainmaker. So if you're not doing activities that are accelerating that or bringing in the business, like
absolutely,
your business is never going to succeed. What you hand off or what you hire are the $10 an hour jobs, the $12 an hour jobs.
Well, also, like, okay, so for me, for instance, I'm not trying to touch my mic. For me, for instance, I started off as a real estate. I am a real estate agent. Whatever. I started off in sales with that. So the first thing that I hired, actually,
it's like 9 o'clock, right?
On the team, I know. On the
day.
team that I was on, I was actually a buyer's agent for the first year. So I handed off showings. I handed and got a showing agent. First of all, that was really risk-free for me because I didn't pay them until closing, just like I as an agent don't get paid until closing.
Yeah.
So it was a percentage of my cut that they received at closing, which is motivating for them to do the job. It's still motivating enough for me to want to train them because I obviously don't want you showing someone 50 homes. I need you closing those deals so that I can keep up with the goals I have set for myself to meet. And so that was really great first hire for me, relatively risk-free. That freed up my time, and I think this is important, is the time you get back with that leverage, what are you doing with it? So for me, I had evenings and weekends
assign the tasks and then, I'm going to go on Facebook and I'm going to do this.
It was doubling down on my lead generation for more buyers, sellers. Eventually, as I took over leadership on the team, that was then training, support, recruiting, expansion, everything.
So let's go back down to the initial hire. So
the initial hire for me was sitting here looking and saying, okay, at my own capacity every single month. And I love here that Marcus talked about, he loved that we hit on capacity and consistency. And I think the word capacity especially doesn't get said enough. I think consistency does, but I like that we're touching on that and that Satima put it in those words for us last week because I think that was a big way to rephrase.
What are my abilities in running my business that I'm good at and that I suck at? I think Mark Cuban said that. It's like, if you want to be successful, you have to realize what you're good at and you have to realize what you suck at. And not a lot of us want to admit that because we can do everything.
I've got some questions. I'll share with you guys either in the comments or at the end of the show that I started writing down when I was really evaluating, exactly where I wanted to take my personal brand and my business that were really thought-provoking questions that everyone should think about when they're creating or running their own business.
Name one thought-provoking question.
What is something that I gravitate towards that most people run away from?
Oh, I love that.
I know. I've got a whole list here. It's great.
No, but that's really powerful because most, that's the grunt work. So so what is it? What's one thing that you gravitate towards that everyone's like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to handle. I'm putting you on the spot. But
I know.
Name one thing. Like an example.
Well, shit. Now you are putting me on the spot. What's something you gravitate towards? Short sales. Most people do run away from
my whole business. I gravitate towards it. Nobody wants to do. How about that? Is that general enough? I think, honestly, I gravitate towards the grunt work. I can't explain it. I am all about closing a deal. I will not leave a listing appointment or with a distressed seller.
Right.
No, you need me. This is what it is. So because I'm a salesperson, right? Most investors, that's what you do. You're out and you're like, I'm trying to get that deal. I'm going to negotiate the best way possible. It's the same thing. And so, but I also have a hard time not staying up until 1 a.m. to make sure that everything is done.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And that's something that people are so ready to just let go.
Right.
And that's something that I've had to work on in letting go of my business. I have to trust you. I'm paying you a salary. You're running my office. I have to trust you that you're going to do it.
And that's where the accountability comes into play.
I used to have nightmares about it, 3 a.m.
Of course.
Shit, did this get
because
submitted?
it's your reputation, it's your money. I think for all of us, more than the money aspect of it, it is the reputation that scares the shit out of me more than anything because that's all we have. Our name, our brand is all we have. So if someone is messing up and it's risking the reputation, that's my bigger fear over them costing me money.
100%. I would rather not take a deal, not make money, not anything than risk my reputation because mine's 100% referral.
100%.
It's such a simple concept.
Mine's not. So apparently you can mess with it a little bit.
I think the biggest thing is that
jokes.
Down to the core, it's really not that hard. Do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
Really, genuinely.
Do
what you say you're going to do. How many people do you refer business to on a daily basis that you're like, I was trying to give you an opportunity, right? Everybody wants the referrals, but they don't take action. They over-promise and under-deliver. And I'm like, no, it's really simple. If you say you're going to do that, do it.
Do it. But as the business owner then, if you're going to add in this point of leverage, so what we've been focusing on right now is hiring and who our first hires were. But let's also then have a point for what are our expectations of that first hire and what can I hold them accountable to? Is that a dollar amount in how much more business and revenue I should be bringing in because of the salary I'm putting out for them and what they're taking off my plate?
Yeah.
For me, it was a showing agent, right? And I was honestly, I wasn't doing necessarily that many deals a month. I was starting to teeter. This is like my first 6 months being a licensed agent. I'm starting to teeter between a consistent 2 to 4 closings every single month.
Right.
And it was 2015, the height of the market, by the way. So you also really had to get out to shit like same day or it would be gone.
Literally.
So there was, I would almost say it was a little trickier to do it all yourself at that point because like if you're trying to prospect and trying to manage your current deals, but you literally will cost yourself a deal if you don't get out to that house and show them that property.
Right.
You know, I had to sit here and say, if I bring this person on and I pay them 15% of my commission or whatever that looks like, then I should be getting to 4 to 6 deals. And you know what? I got to like 8 deals consistently every single month that I was able to do with that person. And by the way, I totally screwed the model up too. And I think that's something to be said is that role tweaks and kind of even doing it wrong. And I was left too much as the intermediate.
And so you had to figure out what worked for you.
Yeah.
And so a lot of us, you know, we listen to these people. They're like, this is the way I run my business. This is the way I do this. And that's great. It's a great guide. But you have to be able to customize it to what you're doing. And I've learned a lot.
Everyone's business is the same, even if it's one little tweak. Like you could put 5 real estate agents or 5 real estate teams up here and something will be different in all of them that are going to make the people in your organization have different roles, different responsibilities. And that's crucial to keep in mind because how many of us go and network and mastermind and reach out or have coaches, which I think are all fantastic because those relationships and that networking is absolutely why you and I are to the level that we're at today, comes down to let me take this and let me absorb it and let me see what my organization actually is and how do I now implement parts of this or tweak it to be the fit for me,
right?
And then go run with it because I know that me and my team, we've also, this one was for sure combined. I had my own mess ups too, but like we did so many things where like, that's awesome. They're a similar style business to us, right? They're prospecting, we're prospecting. Let's go do this. And we're like, oh crap, we don't have the same level of business yet. We don't have the same name and following that they do yet. And we just went and completely adopted your style. And now we shot ourselves in the foot for things that tore down things that were completely working for us in our business. And that was, oh fuck, 12 months later, we should have kept it. And things that we're rebuilding back now. And unfortunately, like, first of all, great things came out of that too, so you can't ever acknowledge the great things that came from the failure because amazing changes in our business totally came. I think Rachel Hollis said that somewhere, and I loved that little line from her of like, you can't not acknowledge the amazing things that came out of the failure that you, and all the lessons that you learned along the way. But now we're having to go back and rebuild some of this, and that is, you can't help but have these thought processes of like, where would I be if I didn't do that? But I mean, you never know. So
well, let's circle back to, because you said a lot. like, okay, hold on, you're all over the place. But
ADD is real.
Let's go back to the 30, 60, 90 because I love that you said that earlier, and that was something that I had to adopt because I am not. I say this a lot. I am not in my business. I'm not a systems person. I'm not at all.
I'm just a do.
Right, I'm
like,
a doer.
Get it done. Yeah.
I'm the opposite. Most people don't implement.
Tell me something once, and I can go do it, and you probably don't have to train me on it too much because I'll also use my own time to train myself on it.
Right.
You know, so
100%. Yeah. So, but going back to
but if they were you, they wouldn't need you. It's really important to know.
Like, Elizabeth, focus. Going back to hiring, the 30, 60, 90, like, so the first time that I did that with my admin a year ago, I ended up firing everybody. Like, and I was like, oh shit. Like, and it was very humbling because when I realized, and I think this was in Scaling Up, but it was like, it was in a book. Don't quote me. I don't remember. And maybe I'll add it to the comments when I remember. But it was, I read something so powerful, and it was like, if you were to start your business over again, would you hire the same people that are already there? And
that's such a good question.
Yes. So like, think about that, guys. Like, if you have employees and you look at your business and you were to start over or create that role again,
would you hire them?
Would you still hire them again? And not because they're loyal, not because they've been with you for a while, but
how
like,
many
would you
of us
still
would
have
say yes?
Right. And honestly, for me, it was nope. Like, I just adore you as a person, or I appreciate you because of your loyalty or whatever. And it was so humbling.
Okay,
and it was,
let me ask
it was
a question.
eye-opening. Go ahead.
If people are sitting here because they're now asking themselves that same question that you just posed to yourself, would you recommend going and totally cleaning house the way that you did?
Well, I'm dramatic, and I'm all in or all out, so maybe probably not. But maybe yes, because
I mean,
if it's necessary.
Phenomenal for your business. I'm just wondering, like, if people have that moment and they realize, holy shit, like, these people are wrong. They're
Yeah.
If it's not me and it is them, like, let's not be totally unaccountable to ourselves or anything, but like,
it's probably a little bit you,
but if it is,
fine.
if you aren't truly surrounded by the right people, are you willing to let go of them? Because there's also something to be said. I think this sounds kind of awful, but I think it's the truth and no one wants to hear it. Sometimes the people who got you here aren't also going to be the people who get you there.
Right. Well, that's the key, right? Because that's when it all goes back to hiring intentionally.
And that for sure is logic over emotion, because you have the relationships with them. You've got the probably some genuine love for them that you have to get over liking them as a person.
It's hard. It's so hard.
Because are any of our businesses, like, I think in this world that is so unregulated, so unprofessional in so many ways.
It is, because, I mean, it's kind of like any small business, right? Real estate, you are the one that determines your culture. You're the one that determines your processes, the way things are done. And so, of course, with that, it can be unprofessional or not done, half-assed or whatever. But like, going back to that, when I had to have this hard come to Jesus moment where I was so burned out, I was at my complete capacity last year, and I was like, okay, I'm either going to quit, which I don't know how to do, or I have to figure out how to make this work, because it's not working the way it was. Even though we were doing
looks
a
great
high
to
level,
the outside world,
right? And that's when we talk about like getting real with ourselves,
right?
And like cutting the bullshit,
not
of like
feeding yourself the lies
right,
everyone
like,
else thinks
oh, I'm
about
successful. Oh, I'm doing this many deals, and I did 125 transactions, and I helped these many homeowners or whatever. It's like, who the hell cares if you're burned out, overextended, and you're beyond your capacity?
Yeah.
And so it really was this logical thing. Because
hey, Wayne. Sorry, he said truth?
Yes, absolutely. He knows.
Yeah,
he's a coach, so he knows. But it's really looking outside of yourself and saying, okay, I need to be real with myself and understand that. And so that question to me, and that's what I love about going to these conferences and, really a lot of the self-development, because you may hear the same thing 4 different ways, and then that one moment it resonates with you, because think about how powerful that is if you need to hear it, right?
Right.
How powerful is it when you're struggling and you're like, oh, wait, I really do care about that person. I'm emotional. I'm not logical, right? I don't have my business hat on or CEO hat on where I'm like, you don't make the cut. You don't fit with my culture anymore. And you really are beyond your capabilities as an employee, because now I'm trying to, and I learned this the hard way, because I am motivated by growth. And when I was an employee, I would work my ass off and, show loyalty, and that's how I would get promoted. Well, I had those capabilities, but the people I hired, they could only go to a certain level to where they couldn't grow with me. And so I cleaned house. And it was one of those things where I'm like, okay, I am back doing everything. And slowly, now I'm crippled of, I don't know about you, because I don't want to go back to what I was doing.
Right, yeah.
But I was tired. And how many people, I'm sure you guys can relate to hiring these $15 an hour employees and still having to follow up with them, still having to check them, still having to be involved in the transaction, and to the point where that's why you get to that point where you're like, I'm done.
Well,
like,
that was me and my first agent. It didn't lead me to the point of burnout. It was talking to other people who had similar positions, and once again, seeing like, you still always have to take into consideration your model, your business, your organization. But I was looking at that, and I was like, oh, I was still the middleman, like scheduling things and setting things up in court. I was essentially coordinating my clients and my showing agent, which somehow still leveraged me to get to like 8 deals a month consistently. But the thing is I was still so part of it that reality of like,
the point?
She was with me for a year. I'm still friends with her today. Like, it was a great relationship, but being realistic with myself. And then you don't know what you don't know, but when you start to know it, you got to make changes.
Can't go back.
No. And I think that, something that I want to really touch on that feeds into all of this before you get to the point of hiring, before you get to the point of adding these systems and this leverage, virtual assistants, ISAs, whatever that stands for you, is making sure that your vision is yours.
Right.
And making sure you maybe understand why you think the way you do, or have you chosen the way that you think. And what I mean by that is, how many of us, when we get into this world, let me tell you, from residential real estate, and you know this, every single person you meet with when they come on your team, how much money do you want to make?
Right.
$100,000.
Well,
every single person says that.
I think turning that into any industry, it's like that's what motivates us,
well,
right?
But every single person who I know that has come into our world, our organization, like knowing the investments that, Nick and Austin have and stuff like that, everyone comes to us and they're like, I want to have real estate investments. I want to have rental properties. I want to flip. I want to do this. And I think it's really important to know, do you want that because you think you should want that, or do you actually want that? And I think,
or did you see HGTV And were you like,
motherfucking HGTV?
Yeah, God, you know.
I'll never, like,
oh my God.
when I did my first flip, I literally think I texted Brandon Richards and I was like, you're right, man. Like, screw HGTV, making it look easy.
Shout out Brandon Richards.
But I think that's so important because I think there's so many of us building a business or acting a certain way because we think we should.
Or we like the appeal because it's really good marketing.
Right. It's really good
like
marketing.
You see that show and you're like, I mean, how many investors join because they feel like it's so easy.
Right.
And whatever. And then when you get down to it and you're like, oh, by the way, you have to find that deal. Oh, by the way, you have to develop that. Oh, by the way, you have to get it to the closing table because what's the point if you can't get it to closing?
Right.
I mean, there's so many elements to it that if you really don't understand what your purpose or your vision or whatever, like you're saying,
right,
it's so easy to be like, screw
and
this.
I can relate to that. I just
like,
went through that. I had to get over myself. I had to get over the relationships I had with the people in my team to realize I'm at a point now in my life and in my business where nothing wrong, nothing bad with any of us. My vision changed, and I had to be willing to make a change in order to pursue my vision.
That's growing in general.
100% it is, but how many of us stay in something too long when it's like, if you know your vision has changed, get out to try and figure out what your vision actually is before you start building on it. And I think that's really crucial because I think so many of us, we network. I was talking with Ryan before the show, and I just met some amazing woman whose name I can't remember now. I think it's Danielle.
She's so amazing.
She was really great. Well, I mean, I met her for 5 minutes, but he introduced us, and he was like, "They're really big. Do you know them?" And I was like, "No, I'm really sorry." And then he was like, "Well, they're really big too. Do you know them?" We're like, "No." And he was like, "Well, that's real estate, isn't it? Like, you know of everyone, but you actually like know no one." And I was like, "That really is the case. We all think we know each other."
Yeah.
But the point is we all think we know each other because we're all at the same events. We're all consuming the same content. And I think because of that, we all think we should have a certain life or the same life. And and I think you have to get
game, right?
You have to get super real with yourself before you start adding in those points where you're hiring someone. Like, make sure it's what you really want. And I think that it's okay to realize as you grow and as your business goes that your vision can change and tweak, and you just have to figure out how to tweak with it.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk more about that when we get back. We're going to take a short break, and we'll see you guys soon.
I haven't let go of this.
The Propelio Academy, an all-in-one education resource for training in wholesales, subject to wraps, short sales, flips, rentals, BRRRR, property management, and more. Go to propelio.com/academy to get your scholarship today. Propelio.com. What does Propelio offer? Lead generating websites, access to true MLS comps, off-market lead lists, and deal alerts. Get them all today at Propelio.com.
Okay, guys, we are back and we're super excited here. So I know we left off talking about, really getting clear on your vision, also figuring out the first ways to really start to scale and grow, and that comes with self-awareness and it comes with hiring. I think that's a big
getting
one.
over the fear of actually hiring and letting go of parts of your business.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, once you get over that fear, really scaling.
Okay.
Really becoming that person that can handle it. Because I know me personally,
tell us.
Tell us. I have been taking a step back, and as we're growing, figuring out like, what kind of leader do I need to be, right? And so I love what you said about the networking and, things like that, that we are constantly out there or whatever. But a lot of it was, how do I imitate these other leaders that are with these, doing these major organizations or running these major organizations? And I know that when I first started out, I was like, I can do this. I got this. And I'm like, I don't need a coach. I don't need anything.
I'm a natural leader.
Right. But it wasn't even more about an ego. It was more of, I'll just figure it out. Because I think as salespeople and entrepreneurs, we're like, we're providing solutions, right? And we're just doing it as we go along.
So now you're pretty much pretending like, or you're realizing you don't know best and looking outward for some
I'm now
guidance.
the opposite. So in the beginning it was, I'll figure this out. And I did. It's not that I didn't do it. It's just that I did it the hard way. And so a lot of what I'm doing now as I'm growing and trying to become this person as a leader for my organization is really putting myself in rooms where people are so much smarter than me. I mean, I remember the first time that I was like, okay, I want to do, like, my hashtags road to 300, determined to do 300 closings this year, help 300 homeowners. But you know, if you asked me last year, I would have thought that was crazy.
Right.
Right. And a lot of it was because I didn't even think about, I was drowning that I was like, there's no way that I could even do 10 more or talk to 5 more people. And so last year it was like this turning point mentally of, okay, you know what? So how did you do this? And like really being intentional of, if I'm going to go to a mastermind, I'm not going to sit here and take selfies with my friends or whatever. I'm going to go target the people that are doing 10, 20, 30, 100, whatever times transactions. It's not even a word, but we're going to say it is. And really learn from them and actually ask. And the best part is, and this is what I love about platforms like Propelio, because think about like years ago where there really wasn't that information, and the amazing people that come on these shows and they just give their stuff for free. For free. Because they have this abundance mindset. Yeah. I mean, there really is no excuse of nowadays that these people that are on this level, they don't ever tell you, oh, I can't tell you that.
Right.
They're sitting here and they're open books and they're like, okay, I failed this way, learn from my mistakes, and oh, by the way, ask me whatever you want. And that switch, it was just like, don't be afraid to reach out to people that are doing so much more from you. And it's so much better than paying a guru and paying all these other people, because you need to be in the trenches. You need to be the experience. And why should I learn how to fail 10 different ways if I can just learn from your failures? Yeah. And that, can actually be that was person. A game changer. That's because key. I did not value that as much as I should have, because I only valued lead generation. Right. I valued, you know, getting after it, because that's where my mindset was. And I am doing 10 times more than I ever was, and have more time for myself and for my kids and for my business, only because that switched mentally, you know? Right. And it was a game changer.
But so, I think you were able to get over yourself enough. And I think, I don't say that, of course, directly towards you. I think that's really hard in this industry where we all run our own businesses. Yep. If real estate in whatever capacity you're in is not an ego-based business, then I don't know what is. You know what I mean? Like, it's totally ego-based business. And so when you can get over yourself enough to realize they are clearly, they've got something figured out that I don't have figured out, and I'm not afraid to not learn the hard way, essentially, and not have to go through all of my own failures and just assume that they're doing better, they know better for whatever reason, and actually listen from them. Like, I think that's really huge, because I think that is a really big weakness that a lot of just entrepreneurs have in general is who can I actually learn from, and let me go implement and take action. That's probably the number one thing different for you. That's so true.
Oh my God, half of the things that I learned, I was like, okay, that was actually really fucking simple. Yeah. Why didn't I think of that? I was trying to make it into this whole thing, and it's like, nope, just do that. Just do that.
I like that you say that, because I was at a conference again, who knows whichever ones we went to this year, and someone said, like, we chase complexity, and I'm like, you're so right.
I think it was it was in Austin, right, last year?
Could have been.
Yeah, I think so. I think I was there too.
There's a handful.
But it's true though, because they said that the most successful people, success is actually super boring. Yes. Because success is consistency, doing the same thing every single day. And as salespeople, we want to chase the problems. Okay. Because that's exciting.
Well, chase the problems, and I want to chase
to provide solutions.
Well, yes, figure it out. But I think in this day and age, the unfortunate part is, not to be like those youngsters, because I am one, but we want the image on social media, right? I want to be able to say that I do this. I want to say that I have a big business. What do you not want to say? I don't want to say that I've got my ass in the office all day, like every single day for at least 4 hours making cold calls. Like, there's nothing sexy about that whatsoever. The only person who's making that appeling is like Gary Vaynerchuk or something like that. But no one else.
I knew you're going to bring Gary V somewhere in this conversation. I knew it.
He's my boy. Anyway, but I think that's really key to know that success is boring, because I see that personally. Yep. As I bring on people within my organization that I hire to also add leverage, that they're looking immediately for the next best thing versus focusing on what their strengths are. And I think that's really key to success, to know, here's my strength. Let me focus on this like one thing, but let me also continue to do it consistently and persistently, or when you're getting started in this business. Right. And that is super key, because most of us are looking for it to be exciting, or we give up too soon because we're like, it's not exciting, and you're not actually aware.
It's the feeling, right? So when we talk back to the topic, logic over emotion, we don't feel like getting up and making those calls. We don't feel like going out to get the deal, because we don't see an immediate result, right? But our mentalities need to be, especially in real estate, that everything I do today direct result 2 to 3 months from now is when I'm going to see it. And so when we change our mindset to, okay, everything I'm doing today is going to make me successful 2 months from now, it changes the game, because a lot of people come into it and they want the low hanging fruit, right? They make 50 calls and they want those 50 calls, every single person to convert.
Right.
But sometimes it takes 51 calls to get that person to convert, or 200, whatever. I mean, obviously I don't cold call anymore, but you know what I'm saying? So we don't be literal, but the point is that you have to keep pushing through. And so going back to the success is boring, it's the repetition, it's being consistent on posting on social media, it's being consistent on prospecting, and that's when you start to see success.
Absolutely.
But people, that's not sexy. Like,
no.
It's not sexy to say like, hey, by the way, you need to be in your office for 4 hours every single day.
Right.
You know, sometimes 7 days a week, because in the beginning when you're building your brand, you got to roll up your fucking sleeves.
Yeah.
And everybody wants to be on stage. Everybody wants to, you know, oh my gosh, look what I did. But they don't want to put in the work behind the scenes.
So true.
1 or 2, because you know what? We're not posting of 2 in the morning where I'm stressed the fuck out because I'm like, oh my gosh, did all this stuff get done? Okay, it didn't. Then I have to step up. So even though I'm the owner, and whatever, so half the time I'm like, okay, I'll jump in and do whatever it takes.
Do you think you ever get to the point? No, and we should.
We should.
Because
but that's why we try to be more
life,
transparent.
Right?
Because it's not all sexy.
But regardless of that, you're 9 years in, your sleeves are still rolled up working. It's just in a different capacity too. And I think that's a
If anything, I'm the opposite. I'm like, how do I just chill the fuck out? Well, at what point in my career can I just chill out?
But don't you think, I think the more that we're in this,
yeah.
I know this has been conversations I've had with other people kind of in my team, in my organization, where I'm like, you know what? This business that eventually runs itself, does it fully exist? Like, I think you can really leverage out a lot, but I think also being realistic with yourself of, is there ever a time when you're fully removed from this and you're not running it whatsoever and you're not involved in the day-to-day? Maybe not.
If you're watching this and you figure that out, please feel free to chime in.
Yeah,
because
I think
we're
that's
still growing and developing. So
that's a good reality to know, because if you think that that's what you're working towards, and we could also just not know better, right? That's very possible. But if you think that's what you're working towards from the businesses we've run, which have been different from one another, that's not something that has fully been achieved, and you are setting yourself up for failure, I think. Yeah. You know, so if you can be realistic.
I think for me personally, like, it's just because, you know, when I put the systems in place and I hired the right people, because that's key, right? Getting the right people in place, and I've been able to let go of the day-to-day stuff, not completely, but the day-to-day stuff, to where I don't have to be in the office. I utilize that time we launched nationally. So now I'm like, okay, we gotta go to other markets. We can do short sales everywhere. And so it's just like, oh my God, at what point am I just gonna chill out and be like, okay guys.
See, but that's why you're also the person running the company. I think that's cool to remember. Like, you're never satisfied, but that's also what's gonna continue to grow your business, your world, and your people that are within it.
Yeah,
because once again, like,
figuring out that balance thing, guys.
It sounds super awful to say this, but if they were you,
Yeah.
they wouldn't need you. Like, you need the people who aren't the ones growing the vision, pushing it forward.
Yeah.
And that's important to remember, that they're just as valuable as you are, but there's a reason that they're in your organization. It is for opportunity and stuff like that, but like, that's also, they're pushing you to keep pushing that vision forward, even though you're pushing yourself enough too.
Yeah, and we talked about that. We had an episode of balance.
Mm-hmm.
Like, does it exist? Does it? And so we kind of touched on that. And the one thing, so we talked about Barbara Corcoran, total fangirl, love her.
Yeah.
And I went to her, she spoke here locally in Dallas, and talking about how it doesn't, the way she looks at it is, it doesn't really exist. It's just being present in the moment. So
I love that. An integrated life. We always talk about that.
Yes, because real estate is integrated. Like, how many times, guys, are you like, hey, I remember when I was cold calling, or even sometimes when I follow up with leads, sometimes 8 o'clock at night is better. Like, sometimes it's better to call at 8 o'clock at night because they're at home, you know, especially if they're distressed and they're in foreclosure. Like, sometimes that's the best time to get to them. So how do I have 2 kids and I have some type of life, right? Hopefully, fingers crossed, that I can still live that life without, you know, but still call at 8 o'clock at night. And it was like, okay, well, when I'm with my children, I'm present there.
Yes.
And I'm not on my phone. But when I'm at work, I'm at work. So unless you're dying, like, I got to take care of my shit.
That's what also is going to allow you in those moments where you're going to travel or you want that vacation. If you're so present in every moment, every day.
Well, then you don't feel guilt anymore.
No, then you don't feel guilt.
You don't have that guilt
of, like, present then.
Yeah.
And that makes you a better leader probably for your people.
For sure, because that's the easiest way to burn out, is when you are so consumed 24/7 and you don't know how to check out. And they said something that, you know, there's no real emergencies.
Hey, Jordan. Sorry, I saw him.
He's awesome. There's no real emergencies in real estate. Like, you can wait
That
1
is
hour.
so true.
You can wait 1 hour. I was talking to, shout out Scott Carson. I was on his Note Closer show, and he said, he was like, you know, oh, does it feel like, I said an example of how I could sit here and tell you, you know, don't buy this house because you're overextended and you're going to end up in foreclosure, but I'm not even going to waste my breath because people are going to always overpay or whatever. So instead, I just look at it as like I'm a hospital, right? Like, whatever, you're going to get sick anyway, you're going to eat like shit, I'm going to take care of you, get your shorts all done, whatever. But he was like, oh, so is it like an ER? I'm like, it does feel like that. And I'm like, well, actually, even though it feels like that, it's not really like that. Like, there's no actual emergency. Like, if I don't answer your call at 8 o'clock at night, it will be fine.
Nothing changes.
But that sense of urgency in our head.
Anything that would be an emergency, I guarantee you I would have known about before this. I guarantee it.
And that mindset.
Unless it's a fire burn.
And then I always say this joke in listings. I'm like, if your house is on fire, call 911 and then call me.
Right.
Don't call me first. I put out fires, but not literal fires.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was just definitely a hard thing for me because, you know, leads are hot. You got to get to it right away. And you put so much pressure on yourself and you realize, like, okay, I cannot live this quality of life.
Right.
I mean, what is the point if we cannot have this well-balanced life? So, you know what? I'm going to text you back and say, hey, I'll call you at 9 or I'll call you in the morning.
Right.
And that was huge because it got to the point where, you know, I was giving myself so much anxiety and I was burning out.
Goodness, so much.
And I just felt like I had to answer every single call that came in. And most of the reactions were, okay. I'm like sitting here having so much anxiety and they're like, okay, fine, call me tomorrow. Okay. I'm like, oh my God, wow, that was so easy. Like, why didn't I do that from the very beginning? So, for sure.
Awesome.
Balance is everything.
Well, we really appreciate everyone tuning in today and watching.